I, James A. Rhodes, do solemnly swear.
It was just the beginning, the first of 4 inaugurations for James Allen Rhodes. Through the years, Rhodes was controversial.
When I start saying something about Kent State, why I may say something that some people disagree with, and they drop a suit. And I just don't want to be in the court the rest of my life.
To support the Constitution of the United States.
He was also determined. His self-appointed mission to put Ohio on top.
What we've done is change the complete complex and laid the groundwork for the great future of Ohio.
Perform and discharge.
But in his 16 years, he didn't forget to have some fun.
I love the fair. I love the county fairs, and I think the county fairs are great.
As governor of the state of Ohio.
In accordance with the best.
Controversial, determined, homespun. Just some of what made the poor kid from Jackson County the Gov.
As I shall answer unto God.
This is an Eyewitness News special report, The Gov, The Rhodes Years with Bob Orr.
He's been in public service for 45 years. He's been governor for 16 of the last 20 years. And although talking about his past is not one of his favorite pastimes, he's agreed to join us tonight for half an hour to reflect back on the years down at the State House. Governor James Rhodes, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
First thing right out of the box, you've been here at the State House for 16 years. You had 8 years in, 4 years out, 8 years back in. Other people have graded your performance, but what do you think about your performance as governor?
Well, it's when you rate someone, it's the position you're sitting in. And as a lot of people don't think I've done anything, and a lot of people think I've done too much. I don't pay much attention to that. That's like just sitting at the dinner table. Someone passes mashed potatoes. If you don't want them, you don't eat them.
Pass them on.
Pass them on. If you pay attention to criticism and what people think, the evaluation, why, there's nothing going to happen in Ohio. I've been very provocative. I've been very controversial because we accomplished something. The only people around here that's not in any controversy or been provocative are the elevator operators. So if you're not doing anything, see what I mean? You're not creating or getting the waves to come up over the boat. And we've tried everything to make this state great.
One thing that puzzles me, though, your opponents and your friends, they all say one thing. They say that Jim Rhodes is a master leader, a master politician. Explain to me how a poor kid from Jackson County with not a lot of education reached that.
Well, you don't. Education doesn't come from books. You get smarter every day.
I hope.
Education goes on continually. Self-education. Don't forget that the Wright brothers never made it to the 6th grade. Then you take on top, Lincoln was in school less time than it takes to pay for a television set. It's not that, it's what's inside of you. And yet we come along here in education and say everybody should be matured at 18. It doesn't work that way. Some people go along, they're 29 or 30 years old before they become matured. I was fatherless and I had a very difficult time. I became matured at the age of 14. So I knew where I was going, what I had to do, because I worked every day. A lot of people don't like to work, and a lot of people say that education will back me up. It may back you up to a point, but it doesn't take you over the point. And what you have to do, you can educate yourself much better if you're determined to be somebody. Now, if you're not determined to be somebody, you can have all the education in the world, and we have people at a Phi Beta Kappa jerking sodas. And it shouldn't be that way. But we don't live in a period where when you get a high degree that you're entitled to something. You have to work for everything that you have.
Why did you want to be governor, though? Obviously, you've proven you could be a successful businessman. You could have made a lot more money. Why did you want this office?
Well, I made enough that I don't have to be governor. That's the best part. But the thing is this. I think it's inside. It's how hard you want to work, how the obstacles and handicaps, you know. It's not easy in this business. A lot of people, you know, think you're lucky. Well, if you work hard and diligently, the luck comes with it.
Over the years, Governor Rhodes had plenty of luck. His opponents and friends would both agree that he needed some to set the service mark among all of the nation's governors. But not everything was easy for Rhodes during his 16 years in office. In his latest terms, staggering budget deficits and skyrocketing unemployment stripped some of the polish off of his down-home style. And then there were even the darker moments that some people would like to forget all about. The state was rocked by the shootings at Kent State back in 1970, and then paralyzed by a killer storm that swept the state 8 years later. But through it all, Jim Rhodes coped and endured.
Governor, let's talk now a little bit more about your past administrations. 1978, when we had the terrible blizzard here in Ohio.
Yes.
I remember you saying that night that it was a sad night for Ohio. What was your recollection? That was a tough time for all of us.
Well, it was, I think, 26 people that did not adhere to what the Highway Patrol was saying on the television and radio and the communications, and they would dare the wrath of Mother Nature and get on the highway, and what would happen is that the wind would bring 6-foot snow and they couldn't move, and some of them would freeze to death or whatever it may be. So I think it's a terrible thing that people do not listen to the communications when we have a catastrophe.
I watched you that night, and I got the feeling that you were upset inside about that.
I don't like seeing anybody die. I do not, and it's so useless. So useless. I mean, every car, I don't know of any car that doesn't have a radio. It was almost, and we had the finest cooperation out of the news media on it, and it was played heavily and told, but these people just want to take a chance, and you feel that you're lost, that you're trying to do everything, and people just go right out in a snowdrift and get caught and be there 12 hours, and sometime carbon monoxide, whatever it may be, they're overcome with it, and you just can't. And the muffler in the back of the car is stopped up by snow. It's so deep, and they can't see it, and then before they know it, they're sleepy and got carbon monoxide, and they die, and I feel bad.
There have been a lot of emotional things in your administrations, and some of them controversial. Looking back, is there anything that you'd like to change, anything you'd like to do differently?
You can't change. You don't live with a wishbone. You can't come in and just tear the wishbone and see which the largest part's going to decide you're going to take. It's the events of the day that dictates what you must do.
Governor, what about Kent State? You haven't talked much about
Well, I haven't talked about Kent State because we've been sued, and secondly, we won that, and when I start saying something about Kent State, why I may say something that some people disagree with, and they drop a suit, and I just don't want to be in the court the rest of my life.
Will you ever feel comfortable, do you think, talking about your decision to send troops to Kent?
Well, there was nothing. They were, that night, I think there were 29 people indicted for throwing bricks the night before and burning up a federal piece of property. I think the record shows that. And the record shows the disturbance, and it showed the record of the type of people were there. And that's as far as I go with it, because when you look at that, you're saving a town. The mayor wants the town saved. And you can't go downtown and break windows and all of those things that was happening.
Without getting all into the controversy all over again, are you still convinced you did the right thing there?
Well, nothing else you could do. If the mayor calls you and tells you that the community needs help, what do you do?
You also had to send the guard out to
we had
Ohio
other
State,
things in Ohio. We had 2 trucking factions were carrying shotguns, shooting at each other.
Shortly before the same time, right?
That's all at the same time, and we passed through an area there, and certainly you don't want those things to happen. But if you could precast to yourself that that's going to happen, that's a different thing. But I mean that these people did a great many things that shouldn't have happened, and but you can't, you talk about Kent State, I just don't want to get back into the legal side of it. We won the case and tried before a jury, and we just do not want to get back into that situation again. There will be books written on the Kent State, the other side. The other side will be written.
Will we hear from you then?
Well, I don't know. I have to look at the book. But there's going to be other sides on the people who brought it on. This thing was just an incident that happened.
What were some of the other tough ones you had to deal with, looking back?
Well, you know, when you look and you say, what was the most important thing as governor, you just can't say that one day. It's every day.
Did anything keep you awake at night?
Nothing. Nothing wakes me up. So I don't worry about anything. I do my job. I go home to my family. I was interviewed here recently by a girl, reporter. She's leaving here, and said that a lot of people think that you're a little square and a little odd. And I said, what's the trouble? He said, well, we never see you out to any of the cocktail parties. We don't see you out to the many dinners. We don't see you womanizing. She went to about 5 or 6 things. I said, young lady, this has been going on 40 years. So I've never changed. I mean, I go home every night. I don't care if I'm in Cleveland, I come home. The only thing I have is my family. And the only people going to bring me any kind of medicine to recuperate from any illness is my family, my children, my grandchildren, my wife.
Has that been the key to your longevity, do you think?
That's been that's a key to life. All I've tried to do is have a good life and a happy life. I mean, someone say, well, that's old-fashioned. I have one 6'4", playing basketball. I have one as a champion skier, and I have 3 or 4 coming up. We're all great, and I have to go see them. Tuesday night, I had to go to junior high to see one in 9th grade play, and I had to go at 8 o'clock to see the one playing in high school. I have to be there. They want me there.
Tell us about the night you went to the basketball game and they made you move out of the front row.
What happened, the place was full, and they had a row there that they didn't want to sit on the first seat. And I was walked in, I'm trying to get a seat, and the people standing back of me, they didn't want me to stand in front of them. I asked them, and I sat down on that seat. Before I just bent my knees, and the man says that you can't sit there. He was very gracious and kind. I said, I know it, but I said, I'm trying to look around for a seat, and I can't see from the hallway. It was a sellout. And I said, and I went up in the balcony, which was fine. Everybody was very kind.
And your grandson did pretty well that night.
22 points.
Not too bad.
He's 6'4", 16.
Let me ask you, in 1970, you made a bid for the U.S. Senate seat, and you lost in the primary.
Yes.
But since then, you haven't shown a lot of interest in
I never showed a lot of interest then.
Did you want that job or not? Some people say you didn't want it.
I didn't want it too bad. I was leading 60-40, and they put a big push on, borrowed a lot of money. I don't know, they spent $900 or $1 billion, something like that, and they owed $600 or $700, and I had to spend the next 2 years going around talking for the fellow that ran against me to help him raise the money. So I didn't have no objection on that.
You didn't have a loser's party when you lost that one?
No, the best winner is the loser. How do you conduct yourself when you lose? You know, so many people get that overdrive going and ambition, desire, and determination. They can't lose. That's wrong. There's nothing so uncertain in politics as a sure thing. So you have to adjust yourself to be a loser. I thought in 1974, I thought I lost the election. Everybody except CBS, NBC, ABC, AP, all of the wire service, every experts at about 11:15 said that my opponent won the election.
And you conceded?
I conceded, went right downtown, got it over with, and made a good speech and told him I'd do anything I could to help him. I am not that way. I don't say I'm different. I hate that word to say you're different. It's your makeup. Now here we are. We've moved on. We're clear moved out of our office. Our office is almost clear. We want our successor to come in here and have adequate position and space to do the things he wants to do. And we don't believe in that. And we're cooperating with every director and cooperating with everybody. And we want a good transition. Why? We're all working for the taxpayers. And we came in here one time, there's no carpet, there's no rug, the plumbing was broke, the telephone's off the wall. That's wrong. I don't think people want that. People want a public official to conduct himself as they are visiting their home. And that's what we try to do. And we've never been anything else other than that. And a lot of people think, well, you're in a rut. And because you want to be nice to people. That's not in a rut, and it's nothing that anybody should apologize for.
Leo DeRocher said nice guys finish last. You don't believe that, I guess.
Well, I think this, that nice people win a lot of things. I don't know of a nicer coach than San Francisco. I know him. And I don't know of a better fellow than Paul Brown. I don't see any.
And they were both in the Super Bowl.
Yes, but I both of them nice persons, and none of them looking for a razor to cut their wrists because they lost. They're not bad losers.
Let me ask you about the party. In this election year, you were out night after night after night at Rhodes raising money for the party.
I have one tonight.
But in prior years, some people within the Republican Party and outside of the party said that Jim Rhodes didn't always do enough for the party. He took care of himself first.
I want to help you right now. I want you to get all those people in one room, and I've been signing notes for $250,000 for the Republican Party for a long time. I want them as co-signers.
Do you owe anything to the party, or have you paid your debt?
Well, no, I owe something to the party. I'm a Republican. I've been a Republican, and I do a great many things for a lot of people, and I go out and make speeches, but I don't want to be out every month at the same community. But the people in judgment that up and say that you don't do this and don't do that, you know, when someone comes to you and say what we need in the Republican Party is a new face, you're looking at it. And someone wants to come and reorganize the party, he wants to run for something.
Do you think the party's in good shape as you leave?
I think the good party's in good shape. We're in condition. We've had these before. 66, we win over 700,000 votes. So we've enjoyed drinking the wine, and this year we're stamping the grapes. I have no intention of allowing Ohio to become a second-rate state with second-rate school and second-rate service.
In his career, Governor Rhodes was often predictable. His speeches frequently sounded alike. For example, how often did you hear the phrase, jobs and progress, or profit's not a dirty word, or no new taxes? And did you ever know Jim Rhodes to miss a state fair? Now that was predictable. But occasionally, the governor would cross us all up, like the night last summer when he decided he needed to sleep in the cattle barn. Now who could have imagined that, even considering the governor's love for the annual spectacle he put on each August?
You're not going to be governor this coming fall when the state fair opens up again, but that's always been one of your favorite projects.
No.
You told me last year that you'd be willing to do anything out
Yes.
there. Are you going to work for the fair this year?
Well, we do anything they want done, but they got a fair manager, and I think he's expressed opinion on what he wants to do. Going to override anybody's opinion.
Will we see you opening day out there? I know you're.
We'll be there at opening. I'll be there opening day if I have to be up there in a wheelchair or an ambulance. I love the fair. I love the county fairs, and I think the county fairs are great. And we got to, you see, we have such abundance of things in Ohio. We have more things by accident than most states have on purpose. We got everything. We got 8 or 9 presidents, and everybody wants to keep under a bushel basket.
Let's talk about jobs. It's been one of your favorite themes. It's been no secret. Does it hurt you a little bit, though, to leave office at a time when Ohio was really hurting in the jobs picture?
Well, but we can't help it. It's all in Washington. We started off with OPEC oil, and here we are with an embargo in 1973, and we have not, as far as getting additional oil in the continental United States, and we have more than the Arab countries. In coal alone, we have more BTUs in coal in the Appalachia than all the BTUs in oil in the rest of the world. It takes 4 1/3 barrels of oil to make 1 ton of coal. So what happened? All of the rest of the industrial countries of the world will have 90% of their energy will be producing coal, while Congress in this country is saying we can't burn it, and they'll have more laws, more strict laws, and there'll be less coal burnt in this country. So we are upside down as far as the rest of the world is concerned. But in jobs, it is Washington, not the state of Ohio.
Is that a frustration to you?
No, it's not frustrating. It's just it's something that you live with every day. It's something you try to correct, and you try to get the people in Washington to listen and try to tell them that they're on the wrong track. Now we get back to oil embargo. Then we have regulations set in about 1972, and then we have the militant people within the EPA will close up plants and lay off 7,500 people in Youngstown because they cannot adhere to their program at that time because of the money. They have almost destroyed steel. We've had 55% of the world's supply of steel. We're down to 10%. We've won 2 wars on steel, 2 wars on coal, and here we are, we're shipping from the Persian Gulf, and here we just dedicated a battleship the other day. Some people said it would never make it out of the harbor in the war. And we're trying to bring 30% of the oil to run this country from the Persian Gulf. Now, we can't get oil in here during a war, and our defenses, the defense of this country is not as great as we believe it is.
Have you ever figured out in your 16 years or even beyond that how to get Washington to listen to the heartland?
There's Potomac fever, absolutely Potomac fever. After they get down there, they're away from people. They don't come home enough. They ought to be in station 1 week and back home a week. In station a week and back home be the best thing ever happened. I've said this often, and a lot of people are amused by it. I think if the governors, the legislators take a 2-year vacation, if the president and Congress take a 2-year vacation, most of these things would right themselves. We wouldn't have the things that we have to go through with.
You mentioned taxes, and for
Yes.
a long time we heard you say no new taxes, no new taxes. Partially because of the national economy, we had to pass tax increases
We
in
had to
Ohio.
pass taxes because of the national economy. But we said this, that there's no new taxes if we have what we've always had in Ohio, which we have 5.5%, we have 7% unemployment in the state of Ohio. We had a recession.
Do you feel that you broke a promise on that?
No, I didn't break any promise. There was nothing you could do. You had to save the state of Ohio. I can stand out there on High Street and say, I don't care what goes on, I'm not going to pass taxes. You have to keep the schools open. You have to keep the mental and the mental retardation, you have to keep them open. You have to keep the highway patrol. You have to run the state. So what we did, if they have 5.5%, 6 or 6.5% unemployment, our general fund goes up 15 to 20%. So you don't need new taxes because of our tax structure. It is made that way. But our problem is you can't cope with Washington. And unless we do something, we're looking at 15, 16% unemployment in this state. It's going to get worse. Now, someone must listen, and someone must do something. And most people, and I talk to probably more people than anybody on the street. I visited some lines of the unemployed, and this is what they say unanimously, that the Democrats are trying to preserve and protect the Democrat Party, and the Republicans are trying to protect and preserve the Republican Party, and nobody cares about America. And as they get together in a cohesive way, we cannot stand 2 more years of what we're doing, because this economy can float away and take too long to come back.
Rhodes has been warning Washington of dire consequences for years, and even if he hasn't had much luck getting anybody there to listen, he hasn't had much trouble at all getting things done here at home. In his 16 years, the governor has seen the state's interstate highway system completed. He's built parks and airports, and he personally pushed hard to make vocational education available to all of Ohio's high school students. But he says Ohio is still not done with Jim Rhodes, and neither are his critics.
We've been hung in effigy more than anybody. We started vocational education, and we had educational associations opposed to it, and very few people for it. And today we have 60% of the junior and seniors in vocational education. It's going to go to 75%. And when we became governor, why, all we had was college-oriented high schools. You had to go to college or you didn't not get your money's worth out of high school. So what we've done is changed the complete complex and laid the groundwork for the great future of Ohio.
Now, you mentioned vocational education and a few other things, county airports.
Yes.
Other people point to the highway system and parks and
Well, the parks
a lot of things. What are your best accomplishments?
But I would say, what we tried to do was this. We tried to take each department and excel in it. We tried to be the best in the United States in each one of the departments, and we were here long enough to get that goal accomplished. After all, here we are with mental hygiene, mental retardation, with accredited hospitals. It was unheard of in Ohio. But that's people put that on the back burner unless you're close to mental hygiene or mental retardation. And then you take Parks and Recreation. We toured the United States and we looked at Tetons, Yellowstone. Those places are tool sheds compared with Ohio. I mean, we have the finest park and recreational system in the world here. And anybody that comes here will tell you that. We're a different make because we're between the East and the West. We can weigh everything that happens in New York and everything happens in Chicago. But I think the people, the young people of Ohio, I think there's more desire and more determination with young people in Ohio than any other place, because when you look at 60% in vocational education, that opportunity's there. These young people are expected to go to work. It's unlimited. The potential here, Ohio, has never scratched the surface. I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people disagree. Atlanta, Georgia is the distribution center of the South. We're going to be the distribution center of the world, Ohio. Nobody goes to New York, to Chicago, through West Virginia and Kentucky. We're in the center of 70% of the population, 75% of the wealth, and 80% of all the industrial might on the North American continent. So we don't have any place that we're now stopped by so-called imports. Now, we cannot become a shipped-in nation. We have to do something about steel. We have to do something about the automobile.
Ready to go back to James A. Rhodes and Associates.
Yes.
As quickly as possible, you tell me that's a challenge that you're going to enjoy more than being governor. I don't know if I believe that or not.
Well, I believe it because I know it. I know what is out there. I just think that there's so many things that can help society in advancement, and I think in the next 18 years between now and this 20th century ends, you're going to find the second greatest revolution industrially you've ever viewed. I think we're going to be the second largest state in the Union by the year 2000.
I've heard you tell people before, and I've read it many times, that you never close the back door when you're in politics.
Well,
explain that one for me. Does that mean we're going to hear from you in the future?
No. The thing in our business is this. You never get so angry that you can't have breakfast with your opponent the next morning. And what that is, you leave a back door to go to breakfast. You cannot, people lose their temper, and on many occasions they say things that they regret, but their ego keeps them from apologizing. So if you never say it, you don't have to apologize. So if you try to compromise, which you should do on every issue, and not all of the ingenuity lies with one group or another group. And what we do is this. We try to lay down a program. If someone gives us a better idea, we take it. And some people say, you're backing up. I'm not backing up. All I'm trying to do is to take something that will better a program. And we listen to everybody. Everybody gets in to see me. I've had 25 people in here today on appointments.
What about 1986, Governor? Some people feel that you may give it another try.
No, I don't lay those long-drawn plans. A lot of things come into your life that makes you change. But it's life is exciting if you wanted to make it exciting. And life is why you make it. And it's not what other people make it for you. It's what you make it for yourself. You live inside. A lot of people live outside. And I know that people think, well, your family's everything. It's all you have. When you leave that house in the morning, all your loved ones is in that home. All your loved ones. Your acquaintance and friends is when you get downtown and meet them.
I think we'll wrap it up on that note, Governor.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being with us tonight.
I'm very happy to be with you.
And thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
I'm Bob Wood. Good night.